Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Policy Initiatives Catalog and Roadmap for the 2026 through the 2028 Draft Policy Roadmap. My name is Brenda Marquez on behalf of the Stakeholder Affairs. We welcome you to today's meeting. I'm here joined with Alyssa Craig Arnold, who is our lead policy integration and governance specialist. And we do have Amelia Blanky, our principal economist and director of market strategy and governance. Today's meeting, we'll go ahead and do a few housekeeping reminders as this call is being recorded for informational and convenience purposes only. Any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. During this meeting, we will be opening up for natural pauses for questions, and also any questions or concerns can be shared at this time. And also we do have an opportunity to submit chat, but before asking a question, please provide that full name affiliation before stating it. And we also encourage that both comments are professional and respectful to everyone. And today's our event producer is Ahmed, who will be helping us out as well. We did go over a few questions on the raise hand. That raise hand is located on the middle section of your screen. You'll click that, and until your raised hand stays awake, we will be calling on you. And also, when you like to be dialed in with the WebEx on the mobile phone device, please press *3. That will be added to the queue. And I do have about 3 people logged in only through the audio only, so they'll have to use the *3 to be dialed in to ask a question. We also have the transparency view that's available on the bottom right of your screen. You'll have to click refresh periodically to see the most up-to-date list of those who are in this call. And also, you can also click on the closed captioning double C's on the left corner to see the words that are on the WebEx. You can follow along if you're not able to hear on audio only. So we'll go ahead and get started at this time. I definitely want to go ahead and introduce Amelia and Alyssa. I'll be sending out a link to seeing our webpage where that commenting tool will be available, but I'll go ahead and introduce both Amelia and Alyssa for the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, and thank you to everyone on the call for your engagement with the policy catalog and roadmap so far. So on today's call, Amelia and I are going to be reviewing the draft 2026 to 2028 ISO policy roadmap that was published a couple weeks ago, and discussing some of the new initiatives as well as the initiative schedules, and also answering any questions about items on the draft roadmap. And then we'll review some next steps on both this year's roadmap and preview the process for next year. So I'm just going to start off here with a level set on what our goals are with the catalog and roadmap process at the ISO. This has been the second year of what is now an annual process for developing the policy catalog and roadmap. And our overarching goal with this process is to bring you as the external stakeholders into the ISO's planning and prioritization process for policy initiatives. So that's why we kind of start the whole process with a focus on submissions from stakeholders and then a prioritization input from stakeholders as well. Another primary goal of this is we want this to be transparent. So part of that is making it a predictable process every year, having stakeholder submissions and discussions, all of that take place in a public forum. And then finally, we just want to give stakeholder prioritization a defined role in supporting the ISO's development of the roadmap. Stakeholder prioritization isn't the only consideration in what we include in the roadmap, but it is a really important one along with other factors like the ISO strategic goals, ISO internal resources, the impact of initiatives on market efficiency, system reliability, things like that. So that's just kind of a little background on what we're doing with this process. Next slide, please. And this is a snapshot of where we're at in this year's process. I want to highlight down here that releasing a draft roadmap for stakeholder input is a new step in the process. We haven't done that before. But our goal here is to kind of check in one more time with stakeholders and get your feedback on how this proposed roadmap aligns with your priorities and your resources, and see if there's any adjustments we can make to accommodate your feedback. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail when I discuss the stakeholder survey later on. But just a I guess, a quick summary here. So the first half of the year, we really focused on collecting stakeholder initiative proposals from all of you, getting feedback from stakeholders on the prioritization of those submissions, and then releasing that information as the policy catalog in early summer. And then the last few months, the ISO has been kind of working internally on incorporating those stakeholder priorities into the draft roadmap that we put out last month. So we considered new proposals as well as, adjusting the timelines of some of our existing proposals. And then maybe something to mention here that we did receive a number of submissions for us to take on the EDM congestion revenue allocation initiative earlier in the year. So we did add that to the roadmap as an expedited initiative late spring, early summer, and then completed the first phase of that early in the summer. And we're now starting on the second phase of that this month, I believe. And then finally, we're closing out the year. We're publishing the final roadmap next month and presenting that to the ISO Board of Governors and the WEM governing body. And that's just kind of a snapshot of where we're at with the process. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it over to Amelia now to discuss some of the new additions to the roadmap this year.
Thanks, Alyssa. As a reminder, I've been watching people joining this meeting as we progress through. So as a reminder of where we are, we issued a draft roadmap as we did last year, but this year, unlike last year, we're taking comment. The comment tool has been open for several weeks now. It was open when we published the draft roadmap, and will be open for, I believe, another week or week and a half. Alyssa will go over more detail on the questions, and I'd like to postpone any questions about how to comment on the draft roadmap to that time. To go over some highlights of what is different and what is new and additional in the 2026 to 2028 policy roadmap, comparing that to the 2025 to 2027 policy roadmap that we began the year with. There are a couple of new things. The first is that we are adding an initiative for policy work associated with EDM implementation. We don't have anything specific in mind here. This is really intended to reserve space for anything that needs to be done as EDM is launched next year. The second thing we're adding is an initiative for the stakeholdering of changes to some of our finance department procedures. I'll talk a little bit about this. This typically, this did not come in through the catalog process, but these are changes that, if made, would need to be stakeholdered and therefore do need some policy support. The third thing I'll mention is that we prioritize the policy roadmap in the middle of the year with stakeholder input to accommodate the EDM congestion revenue allocation initiative. In doing so, we postponed several initiatives. These are reappearing now in the 2026 to 2028 policy roadmap. Both Fast Start pricing, the Fast Start pricing track of price formation enhancements, and the WEIM resource efficiency evaluation enhancements. In both cases, we appreciate your input on the level of interest and continuing with these initiatives in your comments. And finally, we are going to evaluate the implementation of an ISO Board of Governors and WEIM governing body at the time, approved commitment cost bidding flexibility initiative. I'll talk about that on the next slide. We are reopening CC-DEBI, that is the Commitment Cost and Default Energy Bid Enhancements. To take all of you back to level set, take all of you back in time a little bit. The final proposal for Commitment Cost and Default Energy Bid Enhancements was published, I believe, in the end of 2017. It passed the ISO Board of Governors in 2018 with advisory approval at the time from the WEIM governing body. Part of that initiative covers the reference level change request process that's used by gas resources and some other features. And that part of the initiative was both filed and approved, filed at FERC and then approved by FERC, and then implemented in February of 2021. Part of the initiative was delayed. That part of the initiative would establish commitment costs, dynamic commitment cost mitigation procedures, and in doing so would provide greater flexibility for commitment cost bidding in the CAISO operated markets. This would support gas resource management. For those of you who have been following that, you can see more information on the link between those two in some of the Market Surveillance Committee slides that have been presented. I'll just note here also a thank you to Kathleen Colbert at Vistra, who submitted this, really taking this on as a implementation question in last year's catalog process. We issued a disposition for that request, as we will do in this case for all of the submittals that were submitted this year. And as we noted, and I'm happy to show you where the link is on the website, things have changed substantially since 2018, and therefore it may require some policy input to adjust the approved initiative to the market design that's in place at this point in time. I see a question from Alva. Very faintly, if you could speak up.
I had no trouble on the last call, but hopefully it'll pick up. This is Alva Svoboda from PG&E. Can you understand me now, or am I?
Yes.
Barely...
Yes, but continue at this volume level.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just a clarification on this. This is basically just taking the commitment cost and possibly minimum load cost and bringing them into sync with the gas resource management initiative. Would that be a good way of seeing it? Just taking the gas inputs to those costs and giving them the same, essentially, flexibility, or is there more to this initiative than that?
There is more to this initiative than that. The CCDEBI policy that passed would allow over time growing amounts of commitment cost bidding flexibility. Right now, commitment costs are capped at, so both startup, minimum load, and transition costs are capped at 125 of a calculated proxy cost, plus an opportunity cost in some cases. And this initiative would start raising that level over time as comfort with the dynamic mitigation procedures grew. The dynamic mitigation procedures for commitment costs would be new and a new feature in the market. And that's where some of the implementation challenges developed. So,
okay, so the new features, in addition to whatever would be done with gas price, would be that the cap would be increased from 125%, and the dynamic mitigation procedure would have to be developed. Okay, thank you for, I wasn't aware of those other elements. Certainly the gas price element seemed to be almost something that should happen without question, just to keep it in sync with the other initiative. But since this is there's more to it than this, there'll certainly be a need for further discussion. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Alva.
Hey, Amelia, I also added the links so folks can follow along. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Not seeing any additional questions. We can move on to the next slide. As I mentioned, this was actually a request that we received from multiple parties also in the catalog. We're reserving policy resource for EDAM implementation as necessary. Again, we don't at this time know what would be required, but we have found over the last, and for those of you that have been in this business for a long time, we have found that we inevitably require time. And rather than having another emergency rescheduling of everything that was on the policy roadmap, we're instead reserving that time in advance in the case of EDAM implementation, which is a significant market change. Then I'll go on and mention the finance enhancements. There's consideration of two that has been mentioned. One is the delay of the next cost of service study, which might be delayed. And then second is any changes necessary in the 2027 and 2028 revenue requirement cap increase. But we could use these resources as well to cover any other revenue requirements changes. Next slide. This is as big as, yeah, Alyssa, you want to take this one?
Sure, or I'm not sure if you want to take it. This is, like Amelia said, a little difficult to see here. And these are just kind of a snapshot of the draft roadmap that we have, that we published last month. We have 2 slides here. And I don't think we want to go through the schedules for each initiative here. But this document is available on the 2025 roadmap webpage as a reference. And then, as you can hopefully see, for each initiative, we've got kind of a high-level schedule starting with the policy development phase. So that's stakeholder meetings, proposal development. And then we've included targets for decision dates for most of the initiatives and implementation windows when available as well. And then I want to know if we don't include a decision or implementation window for an initiative, it's just too early right now in the policy development process to have an estimate on those dates. And I guess the goal with these kind of broader quarterly descriptions of policy development stages is to just give you a general idea of when you can expect to engage with each one of these initiatives and then help plan your staffing effort around that as well. Amelia, did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I'll just highlight on the bottom of the page, you can see gas resource management. This is scheduled right now to go to the December board. If that slips, it would end up in the beginning of 2026, but we're at the minute anticipating it to be going to the December board. And we're showing both that and the greenhouse gas coordination on the policy roadmap, although they're not shown with any policy development in the 2026 to 2028 period. We just wanted to show when the planned implementation timelines are. I could also highlight the EDAM congestion revenue allocation. That initiative is scheduled to start this month with a decision at the end of 2026, and then EDAM and then implementation in the year following. That is the second phase of the congestion revenue allocation. Next slide.
Thanks. I think we can move on. Amelia, did you want to highlight anything on the slide?
On this slide, I'd like to highlight two things. One is the fast start pricing and WEM resource sufficiency, EIM resource sufficiency evaluation enhancements. As I mentioned earlier, these were initiatives that were ongoing, which were postponed mid-year. We are looking for feedback in your comments on continuing both of those initiatives. The second thing I'd love to highlight on this page is the storage design and modeling. This version on the screen is different from the draft roadmap, which was posted earlier. And I really need to thank Don Trethewey, representing CISA, for pointing that out. We consolidated multiple tracks in storage design and modeling, and in doing so had neglected to show the entire span of policy development and a decision. Some of the work being done in storage design and modeling does not require tariff changes and therefore would not require, would not be decisional for the WEM governing body or the board, and therefore may be resolved during this 2026 period. Yeah, question first from Rahul and then from Alva.
Yeah. Hi, this is Rahul Kaskar with AES. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Does this indicate that that means there will be no decision in this policy until 2027, or it could be track 1, 2, or 3, whichever tracks you group them, some could go to the board?
If there is a decisional item in the storage venue that is ready to go to the board earlier, that could branch off and go earlier.
Yeah, so how to read this chart? Like what should we interpret from that policy this development is it's a multi-track that could have decisions midway? Or is the idea that even if there is a decision, there will not be an implementation because of other priorities?
No, the idea is that the bulk of the large part of that initiative would be going for decision in Q2 of 2027.
Maybe this is a comment for that specific forum, but I want to give some feedback. It could create an incentive to implement something that does not require a change, but a quick fix. So I'll hold it off for that, but I think there is this is concerning, but in a different way. And I'll reach out to you offline, or I'll send you a note.
Thank you. I believe the storage, I don't recall off the top of my head. I think their meeting is tomorrow or next week.
November 12th is the meeting.
November 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already reached out to a few folks, but when I see this, I'm trying to figure out if it is setting up to a stage where there won't be any implementation concerning this has been in development for a really long time. But I'll defer it to that meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Alva from PG&E. Let's go ahead and unmute Alva. Thank you.
Hello, and I'm trying, is the volume better this time? Or
Fantastic.
Okay, good. I have a sort of the other side of the coin from Rahul's concern, which is just that since there's no implementation block shown for storage, it sort of implies that you don't have any resources allocated to implementation. In my mind, since this is like a project, planning roadmap, I'm concerned that there's no, that the implication is there would be, you're not going to make any decisions about resources for implementation. And I sort of think that there should be some implication that there's going to be an implementation at the end of that process. So just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Adeline. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Adeline with PG&E as well. My question is on the array modeling and program design. For the track 3B, it seems to me, I don't know if it's a mistake or there have been some changes, but from the last presentation we've seen, when we met with CAISO discussing this initiative, it seems the track 3B was supposed to resume policy development Q4 2025. And now it seems it won't happen before Q4 2026. Do you have any explanation? First, is it a mistake or is there some changes on the plan for this track?
We coordinated with the resource adequacy team in developing this. We can take that back to them.
Okay.
The appropriate place for that to come up would be publicly and in their initiative. So if this did indeed change, and I'm not as familiar with the scheduling details of their initiative, that is something that they should address there.
Okay, I will reach out to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Dawn Trethaway from CISA. Let's go ahead and unmute Dawn. Thank you.
I had a sort of a similar reaction to Alva. I too am concerned that there's no implementation of any storage related items for the next 3 years. And I think what this tells me is anything we work on a policy development standpoint that would require software implementation, that's basically out of scope because we've already made the decision we aren't going to implement anything. So I would highly recommend that I would point out we cannot go 3 years with no storage software development or modeling enhancements. That just seems absurd.
And I don't think this is intended to be read that way, Don. We changed this and are in the process of getting the implementation timelines, which we have to get from the group at the ISO that is responsible for doing that part. And this is just a piece that we didn't have the power to add to the roadmap, but we will update that. The ISO is definitely not trying to signal that they are not planning on implementing anything related to storage for the next, and I don't recall what you just said, but 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. So we will clarify that.
Hey, Don, I think you're still unmuted. Oh, no, he lowered his hand. Next, we do have Nadia. Let's go ahead and unmute. Go ahead, Nadia. Can you please introduce yourself? We're going to go ahead and try again. Nadia, can you go ahead and click when we send you the unmute button? Go ahead. You got it.
Hi, Nadia Kranz with PAC. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I just had a general question on the finance enhancements. Was it a request to have a delay of the cost of service study? And is the cost of service study related to the GMC?
The ISO is considering a delay of the cost of service study. If such a delay should occur, that change would need to be made through a stakeholder process. And
Okay.
because that is under consideration, we are leaving space in the roadmap for it.
Okay, gotcha.
And yes, cost of service would include GMC.
would include, okay. And then the 2027 to 2028, is that also related to the GMC as well? Or I'm not as familiar with that requirement cap increase.
If the yeah, that is also related to, it's the revenue requirement. So yes, that's also related.
Oh, thank you.
We have Raul next.
Sound check, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out, and I should have asked this in my previous question. Can we go back one slide? CCW. Was CCW included in the feedback that stakeholders gave to CAISO that it has showed up on the policy roadmap? Could you please explain where in the process did CCW get introduced? And I'm not, it's not our AES company position that, we don't want to see this initiative. I'm trying to understand the process.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. This came up in the 2024 policy catalog. And as I mentioned earlier, we issued a disposition that said that it wasn't able to be implemented at that time, essentially. It came back up in the Gas Resource Management Initiative, where there was a demand within the Gas Resource Management Initiative for the ISO to implement and actually file it for the policy that had been passed in 2018.
Okay.
We're not in a position where we can take exactly what was passed and put in a FERC filing and move on from there. We really do need to have some public dialogue and ensure that what the board passed at that time still fits with, make sure that it fits in and is coordinated with the kind of market design that we have now.
Maybe if you can indulge me, we had Nextra had two topics that was discussed, which got folded into the storage development. Mm-hmm. Is this the same effort where there was a policy submission and then it got brought back? I'm trying to figure out the justification of prioritizing this now versus other items, right? How should we interpret or understand the process? This is the forum where now folks can give feedback, because there are other priorities like inter-type bidding and other aspects that came from our sector, and that was, I think, not prioritized. So I'm trying to understand, where and how these decisions are being made.
This is essentially a loose end from 2018 that was prioritized because it is a necessary part and piece of what is happening with gas resource management.
Yeah, I have some concerns, but I'll put this in writing if you would comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
And we have Kate Unger. Let's go ahead and unmute Kate. And please be sure to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Unger with the California Solar and Storage Association. I am interested in getting a little more information about demand distributed energy markets integration. For two questions. One, I think I'm actually jumping ahead to the next slide. I know you're trying to get input on prioritization, and I'm asking now, are you taking input on prioritization during this? Because I would say that's a high priority, but unfortunately I have to drop off the call briefly, so I might miss that one. And then my second question is just for 2027 Q4, there is a light green policy development piece that was not there previously, and I wonder if that's inadvertent, and if not, what it represents.
It is not inadvertent, and I'll let Alyssa explain the details of that. But to your first question, yes, we are definitely taking your comments. The commenting tool is available on the website now, right next to the initiative roadmap. So it should be, if you follow the meeting notice, you should be able to find it. And we're taking in comments, one comment per organization, and very much appreciate those.
Perfect. I definitely intend to submit written comments. Thank you very much. And yes, if you're taking oral comments now, we support prioritizing the DDEMI initiative and not pushing it off further. Thank you.
And Alyssa, can you explain the bifurcation?
Yes, this was just feedback from the policy team that they would be doing kind of a phased policy development. So not everything at once, but specific topics, taking it to a decision and addressing a second set of topics later.
I'm so sorry. I see policy development in Qs 1 and 2, 2026, and I see policy development in Qs 1, 2027, but that's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking for the additional Q4 2027 light green box after implementation. Yes, that one there. So is that a third policy development period envisioned?
Oh, no, thank you for calling that out. That looks like that was a typo on our part.
Okay, that's what I was guessing it was. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
I don't see any other further questions at this time.
Let's move on to next steps.
Great. So we've mentioned a few times that we're asking for your comments on the draft roadmap. We do have a stakeholder survey open through November 13. We're asking you to provide input on the draft roadmap. And if we receive strong feedback on timing or prioritization for specific initiatives on the roadmap, we can adjust some schedules to accommodate that feedback. This is similar to the exercise that we did in June after we added the EDM CRA initiative and polled stakeholders about how to move some schedules around for other initiatives to accommodate that workload. So we're really just seeking your feedback on kind of the schedule prioritization here. In terms of individual initiatives, we'd like to hear from you about, again, the proposed schedules and their prioritization and your support for each initiative. And then we also want to hear about whether your organization kind of generally has the bandwidth to participate in the kind of portfolio of initiatives in terms of, does this workload generally look manageable for your organization? Do you have the capacity to support your desired level of participation with all the relevant policy initiatives for your organization? We'd just like to hear your feedback on that. And then finally, we're just kind of asking for any broad additional feedback you might have on the process in general. We are still revising this process, trying to make sure it's responsive to stakeholder feedback on this. And I think releasing this draft roadmap for feedback is maybe the most recent example of trying to be responsive to that, but we would welcome any other suggestions that you have. The survey is open to all stakeholders. It's via the comment tool on the 2025 Policy Roadmap webpage. You do need to register to use the comment tool, but we would welcome feedback from any stakeholder that wishes to use it. Any questions on the survey? I think we can move on to the next slide, please. And I just want to summarize some next steps. Already reviewed the stakeholder survey. I've also mentioned that the final roadmap we plan to publish in December. We'll present that to the ISO Board of Governors and WEM governing body. This is an informational item for them. They do not make any decisions on it. And along with that final roadmap, we'll also include a disposition of all the submissions that we received in 2025. So kind of just a description of whether the ISO is dealing with the issue in another forum, or the reason that we didn't add a particular submission to the roadmap this year. And then we'll be starting the process again in January and February with soliciting stakeholder submissions. If you submit a discretionary initiative this year that we were unable to include in the roadmap, you are welcome to resubmit it next year. And maybe one thing I want to highlight here is that we did have a few infrastructure-related submissions to the policy catalog last year, and I just want to flag that the transmission planning and interconnection team is working on setting up their own kind of formal process that's, I guess, kind of a parallel to the policy roadmap process. So hopefully a similar submission window. That's still a work in progress. We will plan to keep you updated when we have more information there, but just wanted to flag that that should hopefully be an option available for those transmission-related submissions next year. That's all I've got on next steps. Amelia, do you have anything to add here?
No, I just wrap up with a thank you for all of the stakeholders who make this entire process possible. And very, very deep thank you for your comments. Please do, where you see these process improvements or possibilities to make the process better, make suggestions. We take those very seriously. Brenda, did you want to wrap up?
Yes, thank you. I did provide a few links on chat if you are able to see those, a few chat questions. Just provide those links. I also will be updating the slide deck to reflect that small little minor typo, but we'll fix that up there. But the Excel spreadsheet is correct and up to date, so you'll see that also hyperlinked there too. We do have that direct commenting template available, but as my team has mentioned, you do have to have an account. If you do struggle with any questions on the account side, please feel free to send us an email at the ISO stakeholderaffairs@CAISO.com. We'll be able to help you with that as well. And then just this slide is just an overview of the previous meetings that have been scheduled. Just, if to follow the same process with non-city users to contact us, and then city users just submit a city ticket. And then just follow along those. We will be posting those recordings for those workshops pretty soon. So if those people weren't able to attend to those calls yesterday and today. And then lastly, but not least, we do have the Energy Blog Matters that has been featuring a few updates along with the ISO. The last one previously, last month, was Energy Vampires, which includes a lot of ways to be more energy efficient at your home. But we definitely look forward to providing more cool, engaging Energy Blog Matters for our folks who are following us through the ISO webpage. But at this time, I don't see any further questions in queue. We'll be posting this recording within the next 2 to 3 business days. So if those folks are able to follow along, you'll see us on there too. But I thank so much, everyone. I think we're ready to wrap up. We look for your comments, and feel free to reach out to us if there's any delays or any questions on submitting them. We'll help you out as fast as we can. But at this time, let's go ahead. Ahmed, can you go ahead and close your call? Thank you.
This event has concluded. Thank you for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.